Hello BookTube. Today I'm going to be doing the Penguin Classics That Don't Exist But Should tag. This tag was created by Michael K. Vaughan, and I've been meaning to get to it for a while now, but I just haven't gotten around to it, largely because I've wanted to do a bit of show and tell. There are a number of websites that allow users to create the covers for Penguin Classics. You've probably seen other booktubers who've done this tag use these websites, but I'm not entirely sure if how I do things, how I film and all of that, if I could do it, because what I would have to do would be um, pretty much make the classic covers on my other computer, because I'd have to use the images that are on that computer because I haven't ported them over to this computer that I'm filming on. And then I'd have to see if I could actually download those covers and then move them to my tablet that I could kind of show it and do like that. Although when I did that Monday, it didn't quite turn out how I'd hoped. So I don't know if it even would have worked, and I don't really have the images that would be quite appropriate for Penguin Classics. So I mean, I could have gone with the Steve Donahue route. Some of his ebooks he has covers that are not relatively match what the book's about. Um, so, but I don't think that would work in my case either because obviously, again, is not necessarily what the book's about. I mean, if the way we live now, we're about a gay three-way relationship, that's one thing, but that's not what the book's about. So, anyway, I'm just going to talk about the books. So, what 10 books or works do I think should be Penguin Classics that aren't currently Penguin Classics? So, for my first choice, I'm going to borrow from Michael K. Vaughan. He ended his video with Conan by Robert E. Howard, and I'm going to echo that. The Conan stories, at least, should be Penguin Classics. Robert E. Howard was a major pulp writer of the early 20th century. Michael K. Vaughan has called him the greatest pulp writer who ever lived, and I think that's definitely the case. He wrote a number of genres, most famously fantasy with Conan and Solomon Kane and Cull and Brad McMorn. He also wrote horror stories and adventure stories. And his most famous creation is Conan the Cimmerian. So I think it would probably behoove Penguin Classics to do kind of a complete Conan by Robert E. Howard. Although I guess maybe the reason why Penguin Classics hasn't yet, even though Howard's works are, I think, in the public domain by now, is probably, I don't know what the state of Howard's scholarship is, and whether or not they could find somebody to do like the introduction and all of the supporting materials that Penguin Classics includes, as well as art. I'm not thinking of any of the usual art sources that Penguin Classics uses that really would kind of work for Conan. So anyway, but hopefully sooner rather than later, there will be a Penguin Classics of the complete Conan by Robert E. Howard. My next choice is another work of genre fiction, and that is The Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. The Murder on the Orient Express is one of Christie's most famous works and popular works. It's been adapted numerous times, and it is the story of a murder that is committed on the Orient Express when it becomes trapped in a snowdrift. And unfortunately for the suspects, one of the passengers on the specific train car is Hercule Poirot, the famous detective. It's definitely should be a Penguin classic when it comes out into the public domain. My next few choices are more traditional canonical works that have yet to make their way to Penguin classics. First up, the first few are a drama, and then there's a novel. So I'm going to go with Streetcar Named Desire by Tennessee Williams. This is one of Tennessee Williams' most famous plays. It's about a woman who moves in with her sister and brother-in-law in New Orleans once she falls on hard times, and how she kind of falls apart, in part due to her brother-in-law's brutishness. It's a wonderful, brutal play that really should be a Penguin classic at some point, as well as should, I think, a lot of Tennessee Williams' work. My next choice is Our Town by Thornton Wilder. This is a seminal classic of American drama. I wouldn't be surprised if every American school child read the play and performed in class the play. I know I did. It's a wonderful examination of small town life at the turn of the 20th century. My next choice is A Raisin in the Sun by Lorraine Hensbury. This is a play about an African-American family in, I think, Chicago at mid-century who are dealing with, when I say it's a prospect of developers trying to buy their house or apartment or something. It's been a while since I've read it, but it is an amazingly powerful play. Moving on from drama and American literature, my next choice is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, which I think a few other people who've made this tag have mentioned. It's about the life of Mrs. Dalloway, as I think she goes to attend a party. Again, it's been forever since I've read it, and I think it really should be a Penguin classic, as well as Virginia Woolf's work, which I think should be nearing availability by this point. My next choice is The Master of Go by Yasunari Kawabata. Master of Go is one of my favorite novels. It's a lightly fictionalized account of the retirement match of Honinbo Shusai, who basically sold the rights to his retirement match to a number of magazines, which is why Yasunari Kawabata covered the match for various magazines. And it's basically just what happened and the controversies that erupted. It's an amazing work that really should be a Penguin classic when it becomes available. My next few choices are related to comics. Recently, Penguin has started to publish comic books, the Marvel collection. And the first three are Spider-Man, Captain America, and Black Panther. I really think the X-Men should join them. My next choice is a work of manga, and that would be Astro Boy by Osamu Tezuka. Astro Boy is one of the most important manga of the 20th century, and I would love to see it in a Penguin Classic edition, especially if it really hasn't had an American or English language release. And my final pick is the Amarna Letters. The Amarna Letters are the archive that were found at Amarna, ancient Agatha, which basically just collected a number of Egyptian and ancient Near Eastern documents, letters, that sort of thing, that really opens a window to what was going on in the late Bronze Age. And I have a sweet tooth for Bronze Age history, and I would love to see uh, the archives, not only of Amarna, but also of Hattusha and Ugarit and other locations sort of published, and something like Penguin Classic. So those are my choices for penguins that don't exist but should. So I won't have any videos up tomorrow because I'll be watching The Four Children of the Apocalypse. So I will be back on Friday with my July book haul. It's going to be a large one, as a lot of my book hauls have been recently. And then, of course, I will be doing Friday reads later Friday afternoon and into early Friday evening. So, in a booktube until Friday, thank you, have a great afternoon, and stay safe.